Welcome everybody to MogTalk. If you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, it is a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community discussing everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. And today we're going to have a pretty interesting show. It's something that we don't normally talk about, something most people don't normally talk about when they do MMOs, I guess, which is soloing the game, trying to experience it all by yourself. And we bring on the legend who has been trying to accomplish that for quite a while and been working on that, RathGames. Rath, could you introduce yourself really quick?
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to see you. I'm the silly solo main. I've got the funny little brand new character named Solo Only that I've been trying to clear the entire MSQ with on my own. That means no market board, no trading with other players, no parties, no trust supports or anything like that, and minimal quest rewards. That one is a little bit of a weird one, but it's fine.
Okay. Uh, and, you know, a lot of people have been paying attention to your efforts, and that's why you're here today, because they keep telling me, bring this guy on the show. I want to hear from him and talk to him. So that's why you're here. It's getting a lot of popularity. And just out of curiosity, have you talked to a lot of people? Have you been on any podcast or anything?
I've had like one a long time ago that I popped on for, but not really. Funny enough, without my intent to do it, I've kind of ended up just being solo in general. It works for everything.
Okay, just so except for here. Well, technically you're solo. You're a solo guest on the show.
Okay, so we still keep it. Perfect.
Salvaged. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I'm sorry for your partner.
Thank you.
But if you're going straight on, anyways, this is just an interesting topic because you put a lot of work into it. It's not like something like you just kind of do it for fun every once in a while. This is your content. This is what you do. And before we get too deep into it, you mentioned a little bit about it, but can you just like dive in to exactly what you're doing? Like it's detailed as possible.
Yeah, so the easiest way for me to put it is that if you can imagine that when you get to the level 16 MSQ, your next step is to do Sestasha. If you open the duty finder and hit that Q button and you get 3 other people, you run through Sestasha in 2 seconds and it's done. I don't get to do that. I set it up with level sync or silence echo for as long as those two are possible. Preferably level sync, and there is a surprising amount that has been level syncable. I really was not expecting that one to work out. And it's just having to clear every single piece of content for the MSQ, all of the dungeons, all the trials within those restrictions without any external support whatsoever.
Okay. So can you talk to people that you see, or do they not exist?
Well, technically speaking, I could talk to you if you walked up to me. I might say hello, but
Okay.
the social anxiety does get to me a little bit, so I run away. The worst parts is the MSQ quests where I have to go and type things in Say Chat, especially when I'm on stream, so I have people there with me and they can see every single time I mess it up. None of them go in one.
Yeah, so saying the things to the NPCs so they react to you, that's a difficult challenge. Okay, just making sure I understand.
The hardest part.
Okay, yeah. Socialization's tough, even when they're not real. So I guess. All right, so let's get a little bit more about the rules. So you can't queue in with people. Another one you can't. I heard you can't use the market board.
Yes, I can't use the market board or trade with any other players. I have to make and source everything myself.
Okay.
That unintentionally adds an extra restriction to the run where I am kind of stuck with the items from an expansion that I'm in. If I'm in Stormblood, I can't get stuff higher than Stormblood except for very, very few exceptions. I'm stuck with the Stormblood gear to get through it.
Okay. All right. What else? All right. No mark board. No trading with anyone. What are some other things that you usually do? You can't queue in with people. You have to queue in by yourself.
I can't do the duty support or trust, so I can't take the NPCs into the dungeons or anything.
Oh, you can't even take NPCs. Okay,
Yeah,
so
no, just
solo away from the NPCs too. But you can buy stuff from NPCs, can't you, or no?
uh, I pr- I do have a stipulation that I can only buy things from NPCs if I cannot get them in any other way. So
Okay,
tombstone items, you can't make those. So
right.
that's a really big thing to cut out. So I have to let myself do that.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to start every expansion, run over to the armor smith in the middle of town, and then buy full level 70 gear, you know?
Okay, okay. If the gear is acquired from somewhere else, you'll do it. And I guess another question: are you doing this with the public information that you have available to you, like knowing where some of this stuff is, or do you not do any outside information?
Mostly I just kind of stumble into a lot of it
Okay.
as I'm going through and trying to figure out how to get over walls. But as the challenge has progressed, we do have a pretty, as weird as it sounds, I have a pretty big community of solos.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that
That doesn't sound very
we work
solo of
through in
them.
theory. Yeah, a little bit. But there's a lot of theory crafting that we do for that. It's something that you can do with that mass amount of people that you just couldn't do on your own anyway.
Okay, so you kind of can work with the community in a way to where you can try to figure out, all right, here's the obstacle. How could we do this with
Mhm.
just my character solo by itself? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well,
A
that's
lot of the times I prefer to make my own route for it, unless it's like particularly bad and there is one thing we can do, you know.
okay. Okay. Like you're hitting a wall and you can't progress anyway, you can't see any
Hmm.
further.
Hmm.
Maybe somebody can help you try to figure out how to pass it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So out of all of that, which has been the most difficult one to work with, rule wise?
Um, the hardest for me, honestly, has been the one that I've had to make the exception to the most, and the one that's been the most difficult is the no quest items, because I want to avoid that as much as possible, but there have been some fights that just legitimately require it. Because, like I was saying, there's very few ways to get gear outside of the expansion you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in Stormblood, the first guy there is Susano. Everybody told me that I was going to lose to Susano the whole time that I was playing this game. Uh, and the only way that I could deal with it was to use Pictomancer's quest gear and to use some other items outside of that.
Hmm. Okay. And I'm guessing that's the route you took, or no?
Yeah, that is. Yeah. That's
Okay.
the one that worked. Thankfully, I don't
Yeah.
think it doesn't work as easily anymore since they nerfed Picto Hammer, but it still kind of works.
Pictomancer is a hell of a job, man.
Oh yeah, Picto was great. It
Yeah.
was the greatest thing I've ever been given.
I remember when it was first coming out and doing a media tour and everything, how overpowered it seemed. And everyone was like, yeah, look, it seems kind of overpowered. Everyone was like, yeah, yeah. Then the expansion, yeah, it's overpowered. It just like didn't go away until they actually started trying to address it. It's a super fun job too. They knocked that one out of the
Mhm.
park, man. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, okay. So there were times where you kind of had to adjust your mission statement or your rules in some way because the game just had a hard lock where it wouldn't let you progress, right?
There was a singular time, and that was up to now. There's been a singular time, and that was Crystal Tower.
Okay. Tell us about Crystal Tower.
So, Crystal Tower, when they forced us to do that as a 5.3, there's no way for me to get around it. I need a minimum of 3 people to even go into it. I
Hmm.
can't even solo sync into it as an instance. But I went with the fun way of fixing that problem. With it took about half a year, but I organized a bunch of the other solos, and we cleared it with only solos, with no
Okay.
healers, no interaction with each other during the fights, and then just hoping that we could get through. And Cloud of Darkness was the worst thing I've ever done.
What was it? The struggle with the traps and everything?
And it's just you don't realize how bad that bleed is until you don't have a healer. It's miserable.
Fair, fair. Um, So I mean, when we're talking about queuing, if there is like a hard lock for queuing into something, is there a question of maybe queuing in with people, but they don't do anything, they just sit back and you just run forward, or is that like just a no-go?
That's something that I've had as like an idea if anything was ever that bad, but I that would be the absolute end of need. There's genuinely nothing else, you know.
Okay. Okay. You know, uh, uh, I gotta ask this question for sure, real quick before we dive a lot deeper into this. Why are you doing this again? I'm trying to make sense out of this too.
You know, it just sounded fun. Um, I have been doing solo content since I had my first big expansion, Shadowbringers. I started in Stormblood, and then Shadowbringers was the first expansion I was there for the start of. And then Red Mage is the class that I have always played. I've got about 3,000 hours on just Red Mage.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's always been fun and enjoyable to just try and fight the EXs as just me on my little Red Mage. And there's another MMO that I'm basing most of the rule set on called RuneScape. So RuneScape has an Iron Man mode where you just have to do everything by yourself. And I thought, you know what? That could be pretty fun in 14. And so I did it.
I wouldn't have that thought about it being pretty fun in 14, but everyone's different in some way. But yeah, no, I feel like there's going to be some kind of aspect where Final Fantasy 14 isn't a game where you really need a lot of people outside of the queuing aspect and just knowing people and communicating and socialize, and you can easily just play the game by yourself, queue in, and just you don't talk to anyone, you just go forward. But this is taking it to a whole new level. I mean, it's, so that is it. Okay, so you have a lot of time in RuneScape, I guess.
You know, for as much as I would like to say I do, I have a lot of hours on RuneScape. There's multiple RuneScapes. I have a lot of hours on one of the RuneScapes.
Okay.
That I played since my childhood. But I'm not very good at it at all. So I just, you know, I don't. Yeah, it's not.
Did you play it when you were a kid a lot?
Yeah, I played RuneScape basically my whole life.
So I was going to play RuneScape when I was younger, but I played its competitor, which still exists and is not nearly as noticeable, Tibia.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
yeah.
So did you ever play that game?
I looked at it for about 5 minutes and then I never touched it. I couldn't. No.
It's so bad. It used to be really, really bad, but they really haven't advanced it that much. But your character would just slide across the floor, right? And it just, it was... We won't go into that. There's no reason to. But I went in that path, or else I would have probably went the RuneScape path.
Of course.
They both kind of had that grindy kind of concept with leveling skills and leveling your character and everything. But and being a very non-resource intensive game.
Oh yeah.
So you can play on your cheap, horrible computer. So it worked out. But yeah, okay, back to Final Fantasy 14. How long have you been playing Final Fantasy 14?
I started with, there was a long time ago, before they had like the free trial stuff, there was a Twitch promo where if you had Amazon Prime, you could get like a month of free sub for 14. And I was like, yeah, I'll try that. And then I played the month and I was like, yeah, I could devote my entire life to this. And then I got the rest of them. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago now. But it was like end of Stormblood-ish. I probably came in
don't
like...
tell me that was 8 or 9 years ago.
I'm sorry, man. It's the truth. I hate to hurt you like this.
Dude, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, I've been playing since A Realm Reborn and like 2.2, 2.3 patch or so, and oh god, That was 2013, 2014. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Old.
Um,
Old.
I was playing RuneScape with my best friends then. League of Legends. So
Oh, so yeah. Awkward. Yeah, I didn't know we were talking to a bro. That was League of Legends.
it's
I'm
okay.
just
It's
kidding.
okay. I'm better now. I'm better now.
Okay, you've moved past that. Fair. Oh man, League of Legends. It was crazy when that grew up in popularity. Why don't you try to solo that game?
No. No,
No,
never again. No.
no.
No, not no.
I think most people who play try to solo that game. Anyways,
uh,
okay, Final Fantasy 14, going through it. And how long have you been doing solo content in 14?
don't make me think about that. It's been February 23 was when I started.
23. Okay,
So
so not too long ago.
2 years, 3 months ish.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So, basically since the last expansion, during the last expansion you started up.
Yeah.
Okay.
About like the third or fourth patch into Endwalker.
Okay. Okay. And you thought about RuneScape and Iron Man mode, and you're just like, let's just get into it. And when you started doing it, were you like, this is a really dumb idea?
No, you know, I did not think it was going to work because when I first started it, it was I wanted the extra fun and challenge that it was going to be to suffer through Sastasha and hate everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't add in that extra piece of only doing things level sync to Silence Echo until after I had cleared Sastasha and Copperbell because they felt too easy with the Epic Echo buff.
Mm-hmm.
Because in A Realm Reborn is like 300% buff.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, let me just try Ifrit, but without that. And then I did Ifrit level synced. And from there, I was just like, yeah, no, this is kind of crazy. Maybe I could actually do this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, Ifrit's one that I think would be pretty difficult because you're dealing with the DPS checks of the nails and everything else.
The weirdest part is that you don't have, like, as warrior, you don't have heal yet. You don't get Storm's Path, so you don't get the heal in your combo. It's just you press the 1-2 button and you hope.
Like a Realm Reborn was crazy. I mean, the skills have changed how they set up everything, but yeah, the few buttons in a Realm Reborn is just rough. Yeah, level 20, man. The Final Fantasy 14 is not meant for early leveling. you just blast through it as fast as you can until you can actually start pressing more buttons.
I think Thaumaturge would like to have a word with you on that.
Oh,
my Fire 1 cast is actually very important to me. So
the Black
those
Mage
first 50
changes,
levels where it's all I have, it's good.
The core concept of your rotation as a Black Mage, what I remember at least, changes drastically throughout the whole process. And
every 10 levels, it is a completely different class.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay, so I mean, let's talk about that too. It's just like when you're doing it with certain jobs, are you like always doing it with a particular job, or are you just you have a preferred job, and if it doesn't work, you try another one?
Warrior is the default I go with, just because Warrior was what carried me through most of A Realm Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
And it has. I'm now at the point where it's got guaranteed critical heals with specific ability combos and the like. So it's very strong for healing. Paladin was completely useless until Stormblood, and then from Stormblood onwards, it's been very, very good because Clemency is actually a usable skill now that it costs half the mana.
It needs to be an OGCD, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. It's a good time. And then it's very good for defensive fights. Paladin's the only reason that I could have beaten a good few of the trials in Stormblood.
Mm-hmm.
And then Red Mage is the only DPS I would ever use level synced. So that's about it.
Okay.
Those three.
Okay. Yeah, like there's been many times, I mean, a lot of tanks can do this, but with Paladin in particular, where I've soloed dungeon bosses, not intentionally. It's just
It's just what you've been stuck with.
It's stuck with because everybody dies to the mechanic and there's no reses. You know, it's just how it comes together. But yeah, Paladin's super strong. It's one of my favorite jobs in the game. It has been for a while. Mostly early days because of how easy and stupid it was to play. But you know, it's a little bit better now. Okay, so Warrior, Paladin, Red Mage.
Yes.
Have you? Go ahead.
I got a little bit of use out of Gunbreaker for like the post ARR stuff, but Gunbreaker is stuck with the same problem that Dark Knight has for me, where both of them they're good at doing damage. They're not anywhere near as good as Warrior or Paladin at actually sustaining their health and living on their own. It feels more like they need the healer than anything else. Once we're in higher end content.
Yeah. So, and just to make sure, every job that you level up, you have to do it with the solo rules.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you leveled up all the jobs, or just those three mostly?
I like to restrict how many jobs I level up. That's a lot of hours of Palace, man. I've already spent at least 300 hours in Palace for this leveling.
Oh, that sounds super painful. I'm sorry.
It's fine. That's fine. It's great.
Okay.
Just do Necromancer runs, but use it to level up all of your classes, and then you can have a little bit of joy and suffering.
Yeah. Have you soloed through?
I haven't gotten Necromancer now. I had one run that had a decent chance, but I died at a pretty high floor. And I don't really want the Necromancer title. The one that I do want is from Heaven on High. I want Lone Hero, because it just feels a bit more fitting. You know?
I mean, that is literally, yeah, so it feels like a requirement for you at some point. I've only completed and soloed one, which is the most recent one, Eureka Orthos.
Oh, Orthos.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Once and Future King and Queen is a crazy good title. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I like it a lot. I'm excited for the new one that they're going to come out with. Hopefully we get more details on that in like 6 days. There's a live letter coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think, Square Enix might at some point start changing the game to make what you're doing a little bit more possible and get these like technical barriers out of your way?
In one way, they have already. Okay. That was my greatest celebration of all time. I woke up one day and my entire Discord was pinging me. All of the social medias were just adding me everywhere. I couldn't escape the notifications until I read the patch notes, and it said that Yoshi P had personally gone in and made it so Wondrous Tales is based on MSQ instead of level. So I can do Wondrous Tales again. Because previously, if you had anything level 100, you would get the max level Wondrous Tales, which gives you Endwalker Extremes, and it gives you like super high-end trials that I don't have the ability to do. I don't have a level 90 dungeon, and I had been suffering with that for a while because I had to get Pictomancer up to level 100 to beat Susano. And then all of a sudden, actually, no, we'll just fix that for you, buddy. Here you go. Congratulations. Now you can do it all you want.
Nice.
But I do live in the constant fear that actually they're going to make it harder for me at some point. I have no idea. Maybe I've just snuck under the radar, and as soon as Yoshi P catches wind of me, he'll say, actually, what if we just make solo clearing not count for MSQ progress?
It is. I'm going to be honest with you. They would go the opposite direction. With my experience, at least. they would encourage it. And so if it catches like fire, and a lot of people want to do it, I mean, that's the only reason that solo Palace of the Dead exists, right? Because they changed things that made it possible to happen. I mean, I think Red Mage coming out made a big deal with that too, but there's things core in Palace of the Dead that they changed to make that solo run possible. And so I can see them seeing walls if like it gets super popular and there's a lot of people trying to solo and everything else, and maybe even adding in achievements or other things, not like changing core systems and like making it to where a whole nother game mode where I have to do a lot of programming, but they'll change stuff to make that achievement possible. And if there's some way that they can give like something that's in the game an achievement, they might do that too.
Please, Yoshi P, I am awaiting your word with bated breath.
I'm not trying to give you hope. I'm just saying that there's no reason to be pessimistic about the thought, because I know that they do love people finding new ways to play their game and spend their time in Final Fantasy XIV, right? So don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for what they might spend a little bit of time in. Are you going to play the mobile and try to do some solo stuff in there? Because I think it might be even more friendly. No?
My only fear with the mobile is that it's going to be, it looks like it starts around ARR systems, and ARR systems I do not think it would be possible with. I won't say I'm not going to give it a shot, but I'm much more pessimistic about being able to do something through those dungeons than on current, because we have so many expansions worth of different ability changes and otherwise, whereas they're like kind of back in the day where we can just make it specific for everything, all of these abilities expected for all of these fights and all that stuff. So
I mean, I feel like that game in particular is going to be built around letting you try to do stuff. But I mean, like, not being able to overpower some of the stuff is going to be a pretty big problem, I think, too, I guess. But you can just see how far you can get, right? It could be just a fun
absolutely.
thing. Have you thought about doing maybe, like, side objectives, like, in the game? Like, oh, I've beaten this boss with this job. Now I'm going to try to do it with another job and just try to, like, have different check marks. If you like hit a wall, do you go back and try to find other things you can do solo?
Normally, if I hit walls, the first thing that I like to do is just start going back bit by bit and seeing the individual EXs and all of those changes. Like, hey, is there any weapon I can get from this that will change anything? Or the old savages that could get me a better gear upgrade. But normally, if I ever get like the desire for a side quest, I'll just make a new character and do a whole other video for it. Like,
okay,
I've got my Limsa only character where I max leveled Fisher without ever leaving Limsa. I got my Thanalan only. I've got the speed runs. I've got the how long does it take to catch every fish in Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Listen, I get a little bit loopy every once in a while.
Like, how long can you be a doormat? You know?
Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. I have some more in my back pocket that are genuinely some of the most insane things I've ever thought of in my life, and I'm just not doing them because I know I'm going to hate every second of it. But it's gonna be hilarious.
It's like
come on.
It's almost like torture in a way, like torture enjoyment.
No.
Yeah. So I think you might. I don't know. Like the things, like how. I don't know the best way to describe it. Like if it was like this is going to sound reductive and horrible, but I'm just going to say it anyways. It's like saying who would win at a paint drying contest and watching a wall paint, like the paint on a wall dry. Like who would win that? Who would sit there and look at a wall
paint? I don't know. Maybe the absorption rate of sunlight from the white paint, whereas the red paint is like reflecting more of it. Maybe now the white paint is speeding up. This is my next video. I'm writing it down.
Okay, you're welcome. If you need some more tedious ass ideas, you let me know.
That sounds perfect.
Oh my goodness. All right, so if we're talking about like your solo adventure and the core objective, core goal is to go as far as you can in the main story quest, is that
Endwalker?
Endwalker.
I want to clear Endwalker. That is the finish. That is when it is over.
Oh, then you're just done? You're like, I'm out?
And then solo is finished. Because I wanted to have this is a very long story that I'm making with solo. This is like a piece of myself, and I don't want it to just go until I run out or just go until I get sick of it and nobody wants to watch it anymore, you know? I want there to be an end. And I don't think there could be any more fitting end than Endwalker.
Okay. So next expansion, you won't extend it and say to the end of Dawn Trail.
Yeah, no.
Okay, you just delete your character.
Yeah, he's going to take a little beach vacation. He's just going to be there forever.
I mean, that is
He'll
Dawn
be my
Trail,
prized possession.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting. So everybody knows, where's your progress at right now?
Right now, I am at Titania in Shadowbringers.
Okay. So you have an expansion and a half or so to get through, right?
Yeah, just about. It's generally taking me somewhere between half a year to a year to clear each expansion.
Okay. Is that mostly what's the biggest time constraint in what you're doing right now? What's causing it to take as long as it does?
Biggest time constraint, I'd say the worst one, without question, is just anything that requires leveling. So for Susano, for example, I had to level up to unlock Pictomancer, and then I have to get Pictomancer from 80 to 100, which, with only Palace of the Dead and Wondrous Tales, took like 85 days. So that was a lot. But outside of that, it's a lot of the crafting and gathering and figuring out what gear I could even use for upgrades, for the unobtainable items for merchants, like hunt gear. I'm at a point now, especially, I do not feel like it is right of me to just go and take A rank and S rank monsters in Shadowbringers, especially. People are doing that. There are achievements for this thing. I'm not just going to be a selfish guy and take it all for me. I'm just the silly solo man. I mostly have to constrain that to just the hunts with the weekly points that give me like 3 sacks of nuts for killing 5 dudes. And that's about it.
Okay, that makes sense. So in the open world, if you're like doing something and someone runs up and tries to help you, does that nullify what you're doing?
Yeah, normally I will just have to drop it and leave and then redo it.
Okay.
Yeah. The only time where it has ever really happened is with fates. So if I'm ever in the middle of doing a fate and somebody joins, I just have to book it out of the fate, wait for combat to drop, and hit return or teleport out of the map so that I don't get the completion for it.
Do you go to like a low pop server to kind of try to do a lot of this, or?
Not really. I did go to a low pop. I went over to Oceanic for when I was doing Eureka, and I got a fully empty Eureka instance first try, which was very nice. It was pretty comfy.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean,
but I think for general,
Oceanic,
I don't really. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is the saving grace when needed.
Those are some good servers and not getting a lot of use, but it's all right. When we need, I mean, the same thing with the world race recently, or well, race might be too big of a term for it, but the getting the world first at Port Tower, it was one of those things where they had to go to Dynamis and they had to go to a lot of empty servers to be able to get those instances and everything else. So,
absolutely.
Okay, so let's take a second to talk about the non-solo stuff. Do you do a lot of non-solo stuff outside of solo only?
Solo is always my main project, but every once in a while, especially if I have a particularly bad grind for solo, I like to have something on the in-between, mostly for my own sanity, just to have a little bit of variety with it, but also just so I have something else to make a video on.
Okay. Do you do a lot of current raiding or anything like that?
Not these days. With Endwalker, I did raiding for the first 2 tiers, and then I did not beat 8. I didn't beat Pandemonium 8, and so I said, you know what if I just don't do that? And then I started doing solo. So
okay, that works. What's your job that you play on not solo? Is it Red Mage?
Red Mage. Yeah, okay. Always Red Mage.
You haven't changed up to like Pictomancer or anything like that?
Nope. Red Mage forever, baby.
All right.
Every single update, every single expansion, Yoshi P comes in and says, you know what you need, Red Mage? You need 1 more attack on your finisher. And that's the best game design I've ever felt in my life. This is not a joke. I love it. It's so good.
Red Mage is literally overpowered in so many ways that's not DPS.
Oh yes,
Like,
my beloved.
they're huge world race staples. Literally, people will bring double Red Mage, and they will just sit there and not do anything and just res people so they can see all the mechanics
yeah.
constantly. It's just their reses are so overpowered. They really got to do something about it.
It is beautiful. No, keep them. I want them. Keep them for me. Don't say. Don't listen to this one.
Yeah, this one listen to Yoshio.
No.
I need to extend the races a little bit, guys. We need them to go a little bit longer.
In fact, make it a requirement. The first week the content comes out, 4 red mages. That's the only way you can queue it.
Oh, jeez. Is there a job that's not derailing this, of course? Is there a job not in the game currently that if they made it, you would switch off Red Mage for?
The only one I would consider, I have been told about by a dear friend of mine called Rune Fencer, which is basically Red Mage, but a tank. And I will happily take that.
I mean, they could just add in secondary roles for jobs and make that part of Red Mage. Who knows what they're going to do in 8.0, right? The big mysterious job update. Mm-hmm. We'll learn about that probably at FanFest at some point, whenever that's going to happen. Crap. Are you going to go to FanFest this year?
I would love to. I will try my best. But the last year I tried to go, the last FanFest I tried to go for, I was about 20 minutes late to buying a ticket, and there were no tickets left. So
I mean, you have literally a 2-second window, so
yeah,
you know, they have a lot of time, and it's lottery too, right? I mean, they are doing some lottery stuff now, where select people get invite early on, then they do open sales afterwards. But I don't know what they're going to do this year. Hopefully, we learn in 6 days, right?
We'll see.
But okay. Going back to solo a bit. What's the piece of content you died the most on?
Oh wow. I would Susano or the twins from Ghimlyt Dark. One of those two. I think Ghimlyt Dark just felt like it was a lot more than it was because it took an hour to set up each set of attempts. Susano I could just die to continuously. So probably Susano.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Ghimlyt Dark though, because I mean that's one of the biggest accomplishments so far with the solo run, right?
Mm-hmm.
What went into that? I didn't realize it took an hour every single attempt. Can you tell me what it took to do it?
Yeah. So the first set, if we're just for each run to set up, we have to get through the entirety of the start of the dungeon. Mm-hmm. Normally took about an hour with the gear that I had because since it's the last dungeon of the expansion, I don't have stronger gear than it's expecting anymore. I have the bare minimum that it thinks I should have. So it's a lot longer to fight through the bosses, even on Silence Echo or anything else. And then the final boss has a funny little enrage that is 140,000 combined health between the two twins. And that is an absolutely insane amount of damage to have to pull out from a warrior in 40 seconds. So normally I lost. And then it went from the first attempts with that to having to level up to level 90 to get Primal Rend unlocked, and then the end of it being it was relatively starting with Primal Rend, having to use inner release like just about 28 seconds in advance, so I can just barely hit it in time again at the end of the fight to kill it. I called the video the frame perfect boss because it really was frame perfect. Somebody in comments counted it out for me. There are 5 frames between me killing that boss and me dying. So there's
sounds right.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Did that one take a lot of theory crafting to try to figure out how to maximize damage and everything else?
A lot. It was a bunch of the different gear set options because whereas mostly when you're doing fights, especially for World First, there's like set things that you get. You want these different stats, but the most important is going to be things like that, your main stat getting +2. That's a huge difference for you because you have a prolonged fight and you have healers and you have a perfect situation. For me, that +2 strength, that does nothing in 40 seconds. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Sure.
So I can start throwing out the slightly higher eye level items for min-maxed crit gear that's one stage down with the Yama gear from Stormblood instead of using the augmented Skaven for a helmet and stuff like that. So it was a lot of min-maxing to get the most possible crit, and then a lot of theory crafting with what was the minimum warrior needed to be able to do it. Because I got the boss down below 1%, I think 2 or 3 times, and that was really lucky in all of those times. So I wanted to, if we wanted to do it consistently, one of the other options was to level up to 94, where I get a +60 potency for Fell Cleaves, +20 potency, I think it is, for Upheaval, and then an extra bit of potency on Heavy Swing.
Okay. And I'm guessing you use potions too, and food and all that?
Yeah.
And you have to make all that yourself with your own ingredients you go and gather?
Yes. Thankfully, the food has been easy for Stormblood. I'm hoping it will be easy for Shadowbringers. But Shakshuka, for some reason, uses Heaven's Word materials and like one script item. And then that's it. So Stormblood food was the easiest thing ever.
Okay.
It was perfect. Absolutely amazing.
Okay.
Potions a little bit worse, but you know.
And you click it and it's gone, right? It doesn't have a 30 minutes that you could use. Yeah. Oh, man. Just thinking about all these little details, stuff that you don't normally think about, like what does solo really mean and the achievement. I mean, and you're kind of setting the standard rule set for what solo means, I'm assuming, too. Everyone kind of does the same thing that you've done, right?
Mm-hmm. For everybody that joins in and tries to do their own solo challenge, especially for the folks joining in the Discord, I like to say that the important thing, if you're going to do this, you have to realize you're committing to like 100+ hours minimum to even get through half of A Realm Reborn. This is a long scale project you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just do it because I say to. Do it in the way that makes it fun. Right?
Yeah.
If you're not going to ever touch level sync because that sounds horribly miserable, just do Epic Echo the whole time. I don't care. I'm not playing your video game. If that's the thing that makes the challenge fun, go do it. If you want to add retainers in, go do it. If you want to do quest rewards, fine. Why not?
Mm-hmm. So you recommend if people aren't going to enjoy your masochistic rule set to do something a little bit different to take the edge off. Okay, yeah.
Small adjustments to make it fit you, because this is a very ridiculous grind.
Did you expect it to be this type of grind? Getting
No,
into it?
No, not in the slightest. I genuinely did not have any idea how bad this was going to be. I thought when I started this, like 300 hours and I'd be done. It is currently 870 hours.
Ugh.
And I am at the start of Shadowbringers.
That's rough. Okay, so definitely not as difficult or time consuming as you thought it would be.
No.
Okay. Did you ever hit a point you're like, man, this isn't fun anymore. Screw this, I'm gone.
I felt like I would, and I was worried that I was going to, especially towards the beginning. But no, not really. It has somehow kept itself interesting enough. Like, sure, there's some weeks where like I go into the stream and I start and I'm doing a dungeon and I fight the dungeon for 2 hours and I say, you know what, I've had enough for today. I don't really want to do more than this. But there's never been a point where I think I've said I don't want to do solo anymore. There was a time period after the end of A Realm Reborn when I was about to enter Heavensward. I told myself I'm going to take like a 3-month break and do something else. We'll do a side project for a little bit and then I'll come back to solo. The next day I logged into solo. I couldn't stop myself.
Just like this addicting urge, right? Just
go
out there.
I don't know, man.
And I mean, there are parts of it that, like, treating it like content creation, that makes it a little bit more enjoyable, I assume. Talking to people and everything else kind of keeps you going and interacting with everyone that's a part of your community now.
I like to point it out at major important points for the series, but yeah, the big thing that keeps me going is the fact that I have people there supporting me, and the
Mhm.
fact that I have people there cheering me on and following the story, because that means a lot. You know,
Mhm.
it helps push me forward when I'm like, I could do the craziest thing you could ever imagine. If you're telling me that this next boss is going to take 47 hours individually because I have to get things absolutely perfect on random luck, I'll do it. Just because all 47 of those hours, I get to sit there and talk about random recipes that I've come up with that week with chat. And that's perfect.
Random recipes?
Yeah, I like to talk about my food choices. Basically, my chat is coming up with a bingo card. One of those every stream, I talk about rice at least once. It is the perfect food. And then every dinner that I make, I like to base around the idea that it will be made with rice so that
Yeah.
the rice will soak up the gravy and make it especially tasty.
That's common sense to me. Yeah, I'm all on board about
Exactly.
it, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean,
I
I'm
could talk
guessing
about it for
you
too
use a
long.
rice cooker, right?
Of course, I have one
Okay.
of the fancy ones. I got a Zojirushi.
Oh yeah, me too.
These things
Hmm.
is so good.
They are
I
fantastic.
never thought it would make a difference until I got one. And then,
Hmm.
wow,
I mean, it's so
this stream
great.
is not sponsored for legal purposes. This stream is not
Yeah,
sponsored by Zojirushi.
100% not. But yeah, no, 100. Like, it's so great to just like cook a piece of meat or whatever else you're gonna cook, and then just throw it on top of rice, right? You just
Yes,
whatever you do, you just
absolutely.
throw it on rice, and it's fine. You
Mhm.
have two
It's
parts
so
of it.
much better.
Get a few vegetables, throw it in there, and you just have like a bowl. So,
Mhm.
someone else in chat can try to spell that. I'm not.
Zojirushi. Good luck.
There you go. But yeah, no, it's a huge part of cooking in general. Is figuring out how to make it convenient and easy and not a miserable experience too.
Mhm.
And not overburden yourself with it. And rice cookers just blow it out of the park, man.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So okay, all right. Uh, do you talk about do you make your own recipes?
Yeah, I'd say that, but I'm mostly just I kind of do what has been lovingly referred to as vibe cooking, where I have a general selection of spices and
Okay,
sauces and the like, and I have like a baseline level of skill for Asian cooking,
okay,
and like I'm specifically Chinese because my father taught me how to do Chinese cooking my whole life. Um, and
fantastic.
so you just vibe off of what you think is good. You grab some of the spices. I know that white pepper is always going to be good in it. What's going to go
Mhm.
good with white pepper? Does this want ginger? And take a little sniff of ginger? No, no, it doesn't actually. And then I put something else in. You get some garlic instead.
Yeah, I mean, there's this. I've had a lot of authentic Chinese food in my life. There's a lot of really good
Mm-hmm.
dishes, and it depends on the part of country you're cooking because
Yes.
there's so
Yeah.
many
Yeah. Yeah.
different
Yeah.
types of Chinese food that you can eat too.
Uh huh.
And there's a couple of things that I have that's from like northern China. There's this like pocket that I'll get every once in a while from this restaurant. It's like they call it a hamburger, but it's not really. There's
Mm.
like the meat mixed into it. It's just like kind of a pastry sort
Oh
of.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
I
know.
know what you're talking
Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah.
Those look delicious.
They are delicious, and there's a lot of really good stuff out there. Uh, we were way off track, but I'm sorry. It's
No,
a
no, it's
little
fine.
closer
It's
to
my
me.
fault.
So all right, well, cool, cool. So you talk about recipes with your chat and everything else and how things are going, and I do find that as like a huge factor for just continuing to do something. Like I soloed Party
Mm.
Finder for a year and a half, 8 hours a
Oh,
day. Soloed Party Finder. I went
I'm
in to Party
sorry.
Finder groups to try to help them clear. So,
I'm so sorry.
and I probably wouldn't have done that if I didn't have people to talk to while I was doing it. And since you get very
Mm.
familiar doing this process, and it's not like a lot of things aren't super difficult, you just do it automatically and you talk on the side and it feels super comfy. So I assume that's a lot like what you're doing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what is some content that you're specifically avoiding doing while you're doing this solo? objective? Is there anything that you're like not going to do this at all?
Fishing. I don't care how many times they want it. They forced me to do Feast of Famine on solo. I want you to try and imagine getting your own bait for Feast of Famine. I want you to try and imagine that you have to use suboptimal bait for the worst fish in the game. The Helicoprion. I don't care what else you think it is, it's the Helicoprion. I am so unlucky with this stupid fish that they made an entire fishing challenge about me.
Oh no. Oh, but you have a character that was dedicated to just fishing in Limsa.
Helicoprion took me 3 weeks.
Okay. 3 weeks.
I was there at every single window. 3 weeks.
Wait a minute. How
and
often
some
is the
odd
window?
like 1,000 casts. Helicoprion, it kind of varies, but there was some times where Helicoprion popped up like twice or 3 times in a day, and sometimes where it was down for 3 days. It kind of evens out.
Okay. That seems overly difficult and something to be dedicated to with your life.
It's great. I'm never doing fishing again.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Fishing, that's the only one though? That's pretty much it?
Yeah, basically, if I see a recipe for a crafting item that I need and it says a fish on it, I am doing anything else. I'm looking for absolutely any excuse to not use that.
Okay. All right. Let me so chat kind of keeps you moving, going forward, content creation. If you didn't have that, would you probably have noped out by now if you didn't have the content creation aspect of this?
I don't know if I would have just stopped completely, but I probably would have kept one of my original goals, because the goal for when it ended did move a few times from when the very start. The first original goal I wanted for the ending was to beat Thordan and to have that cutscene where he's staring you down and says, "What are you?" And that was enough for me. That was like okay, I'm happy with that spot. That's a comfortable ending. It's just kind of, I've wanted to continue, and so I just do.
Okay. So you might go back on your word and actually go and do everything after Endwalker, is what you're saying?
I guess there is a tiny chance, yes. I would like to say that I won't, but there is a chance.
Okay. That's fair. Is there anyone that's like also doing this challenge that's like close to where you're at, or?
There's a bunch of the other solos that are around where I am. I know that there's like 2 or 3 that just got to Stormblood. And there's also some solos that have gone past me.
Oh, really? Okay. So you're not in the lead anymore.
Yeah, no. We have some wonderful folks that are particularly good at dedicating time to it.
Okay.
And also, it depends on, again, like I was saying, like it depends on your restrictions. If you're going to take every single one of my restrictions, it takes you longer. Azure, one of the members of my Discord, has all of the restrictions I take. They take just as long as I do for everything. They've put many thousands of hours into their solo.
Okay.
But like some, it's just they're always using Epic Echo. So yeah, they catch up pretty quick.
That's awesome. So you don't have to completely trailblaze everything at the moment. That's kind of nice.
I mean, mostly I do, though. Because I do specifically have, in the Discord, we have it set up where anything for expansions past A Realm Reborn is in specific threads so that I don't get spoiled for what they're doing.
Okay.
And I normally only go to them and see what they've done, like as an end of need. Like, I cannot figure this out.
Okay. So you are still doing it like however you can figure it out. Okay, no, that's awesome. That's kind of how I've done that for a handful of things. I did that actually for Eureka Orthos, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
I didn't look at anyone's guide. I didn't look at anything. I went in and learned on my own, and it was a rough experience.
I could believe it.
But
the Magi guide is like my Bible. I can't do it without them.
It's just that thing. It's like when you're going through it, and you're figuring out stuff on your own, you're not hurting anyone if you're doing it by yourself. If you're doing it in like a raid setting, you're hurting the other people you're with, unless if they're on board with you, right? But in a solo environment, you're completely free to not look at anything.
Take time, do
But,
whatever you want.
yeah.
Perfect.
That's why I do this podcast by myself. I don't have co-hosts.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I just kind of...
really, you're soloing MogTalk.
Oh, it's true. It's true. I do have some assistants, though, for some of the, intro and everything else and some of those tasks. They're automated by AI right now. And the AI is called Jet. And I just say, I want this, and then they do it. I'm gonna let you know.
Wow, what an advanced AI!
I have tried to incorporate ways to use like ChatGPT for the podcast in some way to just bring something out and make my life a little bit easier. It fails miserably every time.
I can't do it.
It just doesn't understand like game lingo. It doesn't understand like the needs of specifically what I'm doing, and it can't create what I need because it can do more generalized things.
The thing that AI is supposed to do is do my dishes and vacuum my floors so that I have more time to make cool stuff. It should not be taking away making the cool stuff from me.
Yeah, the things you want to do should be available for you to do and not be taken from you. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Exactly.
World of AI is a stupid place right now. But it's not anything about soloing. I mean, someone could probably create a solo AI bot, right?
I feel like Yoshi P would murder me for the crimes against the TOS.
Of course. Of course he would.
It would be my fault no matter what.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah, if someone did it, he would just blame you.
Yes, of course.
I mean, there's already bots soloing certain things behind the scenes.
I've seen the most ridiculous bot farm in my life on the Fisher challenge
really?
I did. There was like 20 different level 3 Blue Mages just sitting right at the entrance to, I think it's Outer Lenosha, in the little cave with the bats. And as soon as a bat spawned, every single one of them would fire water cannon at it. And they just sat there for half an hour, just doing that over and over again. Why are they just killing them? What are you doing?
Gil farming is the stupidest thing in this game. Mm-hmm. It's like AFK Gil farm involves a lot of really stupid things. I don't know the particulars of it, but I just know it always looks really stupid when I see the setups for it. But I assume there's some sort of efficiency to it. It was part of their journey and their process to making lots of gil, because they get banned all the time, so they have to constantly keep reproducing these characters, right? Anyways, okay. So we did talk about like other people are kind of doing it, and you would recommend people do their own thing. But if someone came up to you and they're like, "Hey, man, is it fun? Should I do it? Should I take it on?" What would you say to them?
We've had. I have a range for this, right?
Okay.
My first, because I need to ask you questions before I answer that.
Okay.
How long have you played this game?
Too long.
If the answer is that you are making a brand new character, this is your first character ever, please don't do it. Like there's a start point that you have to reach with just the feel of the gameplay. Just knowing how to control your character, knowing the feel of when you can snapshot something to get out of an ability at last second. The general idea of all the mitigations and stuff and what the terminology means. You should not do it before you have that. At the bare minimum, if you have that stuff and you feel like, yeah, I could probably do it, I don't feel like you need to have a certain skill level. I feel like you just need to know what stuff is. And as soon as you know what stuff is, yeah, absolutely. It's a fun time. And then you can give yourself whatever handicap you need to make it easy. You can change things around in whatever way to make it more difficult or more exciting for you. But it is a very, very unique way to experience Final Fantasy XIV, where you get to see things that you just never know otherwise. I promise you that there is not a single human on the planet that knew about There's Earth Ward potions that still exist from A Realm Reborn, and if you use them right now, they turn into dye pigment.
What?
Yep. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just all. There's poison potions are still a thing from A Realm Reborn, and you can use it in all of A Realm Reborn. Poisoning potions, blinding potions to dodge some of the attacks from a trial boss, paralyzing potions which never work on anything. Is that kind of the getting very, very intimately involved with all of the systems that the game has ever created is very fun. Because they made all of these things to be fun, and it's a really fun way to experience the game. It is a big commitment, but it's fun. I'd say yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, you did say, like, you would recommend players kind of understand the basics of how a lot of things work and their skills or whatever, right? So that rules out the majority of the player base.
No, come on.
I mean, to be honest, a lot of people don't know a lot about their different skills and jobs. But
the thing is that you can learn a lot of that while you're soloing, and soloing will make you learn it. And I think that's almost a more fun way to learn it. Because when you're forced into a corner and you say, you have to do this or you lose, then I have a reason to care about every individual ability.
Right.
Whereas I don't really care that Shake It Off gets an extra 2% shield when I have Raw Intuition on beforehand. Otherwise, what's 2% going to mean to anyone?
It's true. That's true. Okay. So, and these challenges are, in all honesty, kind of more of a personal challenge. It's not really, like, every individual that's doing it has their own way of kind of what they think solo means, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Just in the end, you should be prepared for a very long grind either way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are some of your leveling techniques that you do? Is it all Palace of the Dead?
Palace of the Dead, Heaven on High, Wondrous Tales, Challenge. But that's the general gist. I have 4 mainstays that get me 80 to 90% of the experience that I have to gain, and that's Wondrous Tales, which is, since I have my character on a Dynamis server, he's made on Merilith, so he has that Road to 90 buff. So I get all level every week up to level 90 for Wondrous Tales. Challenge logs will normally get me around 1 level to maybe half a level, depending on what point I'm at. So at like level 90, it'll stop giving me a full level, but for anything prior to that, it normally gets pretty close. Palace of the Dead for anything below Heaven on High access, and now I have access to Heaven on High, and Heaven on High is so much better. It's so great. It's wonderful.
Fair. Yeah. Have you tried to solo Heaven on High yet? I know you said that would be the only one that you would want to probably do.
I had one particularly good attempt. I died floor 91 in the first 5 minutes of being up there, but I made it to 91. That was pretty good.
Okay. Oh, man. I can't imagine being stuck in Eureka Orthos for as long as I was. Because it took me a little over a month and a half to do it. And that was like, that was when I was streaming full time and like 8 hours a day. 6 to 8 hours a day for that. So that was a huge time sink. I can't even imagine what, I assume Heaven on High is harder. I actually don't know. I need to probably revisit
Heaven on
that.
High, I don't know if I can say it's harder than Eureka Orthos, just because you have more floor wipes. Like, if you get a Magicite, you just press a button and the whole floor is dead.
True. Yeah. I mean, there's equivalents to that in Eureka Orthos, but
it's only the little guy that follows you around, right?
Well, it's your little guy, and then you can become the big T-Rex guy, unless if somebody doesn't.
Oh yeah.
The anti-knockback kind of nullifies that.
Forgot about that.
And I think there's some other stuff too, but the little guy is super strong, insanely strong. But there's a couple other things that's really good for it. I can't remember all of them, but yeah, I mean, you could reduce as many enemies you got to kill for the next one. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fun doing it. So okay. That's your leveling advice. And so the other part, I'm trying to think about like what else you kind of have to do, when you're going through and doing the solo experience. You got to go out and farm, and you got to craft, you got to gather. Those are requirements because you have to do that for potions and everything else. What are some other things maybe you didn't expect that you would have to do for the solo experience? Hunts.
Definitely a huge part of it, especially for all of the expansions past to Realm Reborn, because I have access to the hunt gear as soon as I enter that expansion. I don't get access to the tombstone gear until normally after the main expansion quest, until after Shadowbringers or Stormblood. The only exception with that being Heavensward, where you get access to tome gear as soon as you enter Idyllshire. But for the other two, it's the hunt gear is your best. There's nothing better than that up until you complete Shadowbringers.
Okay. And so hunts, just to make sure, hunts and tomes, those are two that you use where you buy stuff from vendors.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Those are two. All right. So going forward in the future and what objectives you have in front of you to complete, are you at a current wall right now?
Yeah, Titania's pretty ridiculous.
Okay.
And then right before Titania, Don Meg. Fun fact: the second boss of Don Meg has an enrage where it starts auto attacking you for 30,000 damage.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the one where you have to like get the seeds, right?
Yeah, they have the fodder leaves the tethers to the boss, and then it grows.
That's right.
And then you grow if you get it, but you grow up to 2. If the boss grows 5 times, then it's enraged.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the current ones that you're working on right now.
I got through Don Meg, and Titania is the big one that I'm going to be stuck on for a while.
Okay. But it is achievable, obviously.
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right.
I would like to hope so. I don't think it should be like a full dead end, but I haven't gotten that far in the fight with my attempts so far.
Okay. What's the big thing that you're running into right now with it?
The 3 tree ad phase. Because I've been able to just barely survive up until then. But the trees are rough. It's very difficult to kill them and to continue to sustain and stay alive. I feel like, so one big important difference between like dungeons and trials is that when we're doing a trial, we can gain the echo buff when we die after 3 minutes. But that means that for some attempts, my entire focus is living for 3 minutes. I don't care about the damage. I don't care about anything. Just stay alive for 3 minutes and then die. I've got reaching that ad phase gets us the echo buff. I don't know how many echo buffs it's going to take to kill ad phase. I don't know if I can kill them with just the 50% echo, but we will see.
Okay. So you can build echo up if you reach it in the fight.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing that level sync has going for it, because I am so restricted otherwise being stuck at that level. Getting the extra bonus of, hey, golly gee willikers, I get up to a 50% buff, makes it a lot stronger than silence sometimes, if I can last the 3 minutes. But that 3 minute minimum is the hardest part. And just as a point of reference, for a fun fact, I don't know if you would know this, Frosty, but the higher your level is in Final Fantasy XIV, the weaker you are. Because as you level up, all of your substat breakpoints, all of the breakpoints for your defense, all the breakpoints for your damage, increase exponentially. Every 10th level, especially, it gets way worse. So if I go from level 90 to 91, it's like overwhelmingly higher substat to get the exact same effect.
Right.
The main problem being defense there. So from level 90, I might have like 18% damage reduction from 1,000 defense. And then level 91, I will have 12 or 14% damage reduction from the exact same amount.
Okay. I understand now what you're saying. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't think about that. All right. Well, besides what you're working on right now, what are the future things that you're going to have to deal with that you're kind of worried about?
Chat, it's a pleasure to see you. Frosty is trying to get me to say the words "a seat of sacrifice."
Maybe. Wow. So why is everybody making a huge deal out of Seed of Sacrifice?
Seat of sacrifice, as far as is known, requires an LB3 to be able to progress, and I can't get an LB3 if I'm just one guy.
Mm-hmm.
But we said the exact same thing about Susano, and then I got to Susano, and all of a sudden I killed him. So we're gonna figure it out. I'm not there yet. It's not 5.3. As soon as it's 5.3, I will start worrying about it. But until then, it's fine, probably.
Probably, sure, yeah.
I like to pretend it doesn't exist until I get there.
I mean, that's a good way to handle it. You know, it'll keep your run going for a while. Maybe Square Enix will make a change. Who knows?
Please, Yoshi P.
Just out of curiosity, if you could talk to Yoshida right now and say, all right, these are the things that I would like to change to help me do this as a solo run, what would be the key things that you would want to see changed?
That's a really hard question. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the biggest one for me would be to get rid of normal fight time enrages, but that's only like 1 or 2 bosses max, and I've already gotten past them. So there's not really much that I would say other than like just if there's something in the future that I literally can't do, just make it so I could do it. Just like change it so that their HP can hit 0.
Okay.
You know?
So yeah, all right, it makes sense. I guess any kind of like party restricted kind of content within the main story quest, you'd want to try to make it not party required, so you can do it.
Yeah. It's one of those. One cool thing that would be a nice addition, but I very much understand why they do not, is Blue Mage can't progress the MSQ. Like, even if it's just a talking quest, if you're on Blue Mage, you cannot get progress. So me clearing a dungeon as Blue Mage does literally nothing.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
So maybe changing that so Blue Mages could do it, but I also understand why they wouldn't. So
it's a limited job after all, right? There are limitations to it. That terminology was the worst terminology you could have done marketing wise for that type of content when it came out. It's such a weird feeling when they announced Blue Mage. It was like limited jobs. You're like, wait a minute.
It's a limited edition job.
Okay, that sounds better. Yeah. But all right, well, cool. Is there anything that people don't normally think of about this whole experience, the solo challenge, that they're usually surprised about when you talk to them about it?
Yeah, I think the 2 biggest ones. The first is that there's anything difficult aside from the bosses that they in their head think are going to be the thing that stops it. Like, I spent almost a month trying to clear the Ghimlyt Dark, and not a single person mentioned the Ghimlyt Dark to me. Ever. Like, there is a lot more things that are difficult in this game. This game is not easy. If you are just sitting there on your own, this is not an easy video game. There's a lot of stuff that is not meant for you. And then I guess the only other bits would be that there's a lot that has to go into every single step for the crafting and theory crafting, and just because it is correct objectively to do if you are a high-end Savage Raider does not mean that it's useful at all for me. Like, you don't care about tenacity. I care about tenacity because that's a little bit of extra damage reduction. Sure. Do I care about it when I'm doing damage? No. But if the fight is I need to heal more and I need to take less damage, tenacity is a pretty good stat that I care about.
Okay. Is there a lot of stat balancing that you have to do?
Yes. That's been one of the biggest annoyances, really, with materia, because I can't buy materia. I have to get it myself and hope that I have it. So it's
Yeah.
pretty annoyingly difficult to get the materia that you'll need, and then testing back and forth on what substats actually make a difference for each fight is also a pretty rough bit.
You never used any elemental materia, I'm assuming.
No, thankfully.
Okay.
But I do miss main stat materia. That would be pretty sick. Give me
Yeah.
back vitality.
Yeah. Do you miss accuracy?
No. No, that's okay. No, that's fine.
Okay, all right. Oh, the days of building accuracy on healers. It's crazy, man. Okay. Well, how out of curiosity too, you said you have a community. How many soloers are out there that you know of?
Let me check.
Okay.
As of right now, specifically the solos, we have just about 600.
600, and these are all people who are trying to solo the game in some way.
That I can tell, yes, just about.
Okay.
I know we've got a very decent amount of those. Like, at the very least, I could guarantee you like 25 to 50% of that number, no question. Some of them might just be lurkers in those specific bits of the Discord, but for everybody that has self-selected the solo gamer role to be part of the theory crafting bits and see all of the guides that we have set up for future solos, there's just about 500-ish people.
That's a lot of people. I was expecting it to be like 20. You know, because everybody, I assumed maybe there's like some sort of like issue with people where something just goes wrong, right? And you're just like, I enjoy doing this. So I would assume that would be a low percentage of people.
No, there's a lot more than I thought would join me with it. Honestly, I'm constantly surprised. But basically, every time I look back at the Discord, I see some new solo documenting their journey through things and getting their first kill on Ifrit, and it's always a very heartwarming thing.
That's awesome. I guess post like a screenshot up and just...
Yeah, that's the tradition, is that you screenshot all of your successes and then you'd show it off for the channel and everybody claps. It's very important.
It's important to clap, yeah. They should. So okay, that's really awesome. Do you feel like it's growing?
Yes. I feel bad for everyone that gets tricked into this, but yeah, it's constantly growing. I think the Discord as a whole has like 2,000 people in it now. And
That's
the idea that of everybody that comes into the Discord, 1/4 of them is going to be trying the solo challenge, it's a very scary thought.
Yeah, you're marketing it, right?
I guess so.
So here's the thing. You're marketing a way to keep people subscribed to the game, so Square Enix should be very happy with you.
I'd like to hope.
Yeah, I'd hope so too. All right. Well, I mean, I hit most of the questions. I did hear that there was one off to the side. Do you have any cooking advice for people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rice cooker. No, I can't say rice cooker. What do you say?
No.
Okay.
Follow recipes up to the point that you understand what each flavor tastes like. A spice tastes a certain way, and then you get good at cooking when you can just say, actually, if I add a little bit of this, it'll add a lot to this dish. And then you just do that. And so you're going to do that, and then you're going to taste it, and you're going to think, this is the worst thing I've ever made in my life. This is disgusting. I don't even want to eat this. And that's when you know that you're learning. And then the next time you do it, it'll be good.
Yeah, the problem is that you spend all that time and work cooking, and then you have to suffer through something you don't enjoy is the worst.
That is true. Which is why you have to do it very carefully. Also, I highly suggest MSG. It is a perfect seasoning.
Yeah.
It is just put it in anything that has a meat, just no question. Don't put it in rice. Don't cook rice with MSG. Put the MSG in something else that goes on the rice. Trust me, I have boiled rice with MSG before. It did not go well.
Rice, I feel, should be very neutral, like nothing to it, everything, and it takes from what you've cooked, so you can tone down some of the flavors if you need to, right? And it kind of balances things out.
A little bit of salt. A little bit of salt for the rice.
Okay.
Helps it to get a firmer texture when it's cooking.
Okay.
and then it's just got like that little bit of flavor. But the majority of the flavor, correct, definitely should come from the dish and not the rice.
Okay. I don't cook at all. I hate cooking. But I love eating.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's the other part of it. So that means eating out is a huge thing. But I don't want to. But sometimes I want tasty food without the work that's involved, which I need to get away from.
Of course.
But we'll see. Okay, so let me see if I can find another one here. If I can pull a question. Is there anything that, like, maybe someone has kind of helped you in your whole solo experience and you're like, I wouldn't have been able to do this at all if it wasn't for this person and the advice?
The Susano bounty was probably a pretty big one.
Okay.
I put out a bounty for all of the solos and theory crafters for the Discord of, I think it ended up being 30 million gil for whoever could find a verifiable way to be able to beat Susano on that expansion drop. And I was part of that theory crafting. I was pretty confident Picto could do it, but then I said, no, I don't actually think it could manage it because I don't have a way to heal. And then turns out, Picto actually has a singular heal at level 100 that I just didn't read. So, golly gee willikers, there it is.
Read your tooltips, Okay. I assume you have a lot of gil because you don't need to spend a lot of it.
I have a house, so
okay.
I'm 3 million gil down, but you have to spend a lot more money than you think for things like there's specific gearing that I had to make was with desynthing some of the items from merchants because I can't get the materials for that higher level gear, but I could desynth for those materials, and then I can turn that into the proper gear that I care about. That costs a lot of money. One set of armor, just like the 5 left side pieces, is normally like 500k minimum.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Man, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think. I run at like a base of 10 million gil, and it just falls down and just goes up every once in a while. So like, money feels like it, and I don't even make my own gear anymore. My own crafted gear. Someone else makes it for me. I don't even buy it anymore. I streamer privilege it. I know. But I only have so much time to dedicate to the game, and I appreciate the assistance that I can get for it.
Of course.
The AI does it. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely thank you for continuing to allow me to raid in this game. But yeah, okay. Let's see. I think that hits most of the questions that I had.
I guess I could just do more just for a me bit. I could do more little special thanks for the people that have helped me in my silly little journey, because we have Azure, who is one of the original solos that joined me. They have been an incredible help with theory crafting for everything. Like if I come up with the craziest idea of like, I wonder if I could do this with this gear set on this class, they're normally like in the next couple of hours, like already testing it out for me.
Wow.
They're a masterpiece. All of my mods, very wonderful. They make it so I don't have to pay attention to chat, and then they deal with me being a ridiculous little gremlin. And then Kinra Lyra specifically helps me out with a lot of the video making process, so that makes life a lot easier. They are my savior.
I mean, honestly, sometimes some things do take a village, right?
Yeah,
you not even realize. You don't see any of the villagers, you just see the leader, I guess. But completely random question. Outside of being masochistic, what's some of the things that you like doing besides Final Fantasy 14 and everything else? You go hiking? Do you go do cinema, right? Watch movies and do horrible reviews for them? Anything like that?
I really enjoy camping. I haven't gotten to camp in a long time, but I love camping. is wonderful.
Okay.
I'm a little anime gremlin. I like to watch the
Okay.
animes.
What's the most
And
recent animes you've watched?
I just went back and finally finished watching all of Attack on Titan.
I want to go back and watch that because I've fallen off the bus of watching Attack on Titan a few
I
times.
did the same, but I will say, I really liked it.
Okay.
Now that I've finished watching the whole thing, I loved it. It was a
Okay.
great time.
Okay. Are you keeping up with Lazarus at all, or staying away?
No,
Okay.
haven't. I saw it a bit, and I
Mhm.
was like, maybe. But then I just haven't had the extra time for it. I have an extra little thing that I'm doing right now
Mhm.
that I still have to figure out how I'm doing the storage space for. The big thing for me is storage space. I don't know. I'm sure you understand, but just for
Yeah.
everyone else, recording Final Fantasy
Yeah.
XIV is ridiculous because if you record at a normal quality level for most games, it's super pixelated. It's
Mhm.
crazy difficult with all the effects that happen on screen. So to get it at that same level of like clear quality that you'll see for some of my videos is like these videos take like minimum 2 terabytes each of storage space.
Yeah.
And I have a new thing that I have to do that's going to be about 500 to 1,000 hours, and I have to somehow store 500 to 1,000 hours of footage. That's not going to work, but I'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Yeah. There's ways to do it, but it's expensive and it's tough.
Yeah.
Um, but good luck with that. Yeah, I mean, when I do, I'm do very low, like not super high settings for most of these Mog Talks because it doesn't require too much, just the cams and everything else
Mm-hmm.
and the audio quality. But they're about 10 gigs of recording
Yeah.
per episode, and you gotta go in and edit it and upload it. And then I got to go back and look at my old videos and like, do I delete these videos? I kind of don't want to. I know they're on YouTube and they're completed and done, but if I delete them, they're gone. You know,
Mm.
then I don't have access to the raw footage anymore. You
It's
know.
true. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I kept the Susano footage, which was 4 terabytes of footage. I kept that for like 4 months after I finished that video, just because I didn't want to delete it.
Yeah. I don't want to delete
Like, what
any of
if I
my
want to
Media
use
Tour
it for something
like I have
else?
all my Media Tour videos. I don't want to delete them.
Exactly.
It is a
How are you
lot
going
of
to get? You
space.
can't get them back.
Yeah.
Uh,
Maybe I want to go back and reference them at some point. I don't know. I just need to build a better server and throw stuff on it. But anyways,
perhaps.
but yeah, no, good shout outs there. Good shout outs. And if you wanted to watch Lazarus, Cowboy Bebop was a big part of my life. That's the main reason I'm going and giving it a try. And I would say it's like enjoyable to watch, but it's not like, oh, you need to go watch this because it's the most important thing ever. Like it's not an Andor. It's not a rehearsal. Those are things you should go see because they are life-changing events. But, Lazarus is still pretty good. Dan to Dan
Yeah.
Dan is kind of a life-changing event too.
Mm.
You didn't like it, I guess.
Well, no, I just haven't seen it, and from the things I've seen of it, I just don't know if I have the. I don't know if I have the strength to be able to watch it.
You think that, dude. You think that it is so like juvenile, immature kind of humor. And there's so many stereotypical kind of anime things that you wouldn't really like, but for some reason it clicks so hard. I
Mm.
don't know what it is. It clicks. The intro's perfect. The credits are perfect. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
animes, if they get a really good intro and they get a really good credit scene, it makes the anime.
Absolutely, yeah, no question.
The content of the anime is less important sometimes than the intro and the credits of it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for going on this small derail with me at the end of this episode. I appreciate
Of
it.
course, I'm happy
Uh,
to.
it's been awesome getting to know you too, Raph. I think you're a pretty good person to talk to. You're a
Thank
silly,
you.
silly, fun guy, you know.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm
And
trying my best.
I'm looking forward to your progress here. I hope that Square Enix kind of does some things to make it easier, or not make it easier, just remove technical roadblocks. I mean, that's the big thing. The challenge is wonderful to stay the way it is, but as long as the challenge is, oh, you can't do it because 1 doesn't equal whatever, right? Or, you know, some coding reason that just blocks you from doing it. But yeah. But no, this has been great, and you've been awesome, and I appreciate you giving me the time of day to kind of come over and talk about it a little bit. I do want to give you a moment before I do all my closing stuff here. Do you want to do some shout outs and just kind of tell people where they can find you if they want to see your content?
Sure. Technically I shouldn't, because I'm supposed to be soloing this, so you watching it kind of goes against the rules, but you can see me on the YouTubes. I am RathGames on the YouTube, the silly solo man. I'm sure you could just search up RathGames, but it is youtube.com/@RathGames. Or you could find me on Twitch Thursdays and Sundays. I do streams.
Okay.
Very good.
Real quick, curious question. Where did your name Wrath come from?
The Rathalos from Monster
I knew
Hunter.
it!
Yeah.
I knew it. First thing I thought of. You just like Rathalos. I got it. Monster Hunters are really good. Did you play them at the Wilds?
I haven't played Wilds yet because I was in the middle of moving when it released, but I have to. I'm so excited.
You do have to, because it is fantastic in many different aspects. I didn't like go really far. I went through the core main quest and everything, completed it. I was like, I got my experience. I'm okay right now. But of course, chat, click on the links in the chat right now that Chet is providing if you want to follow Raph here, or they'll be in the description on the YouTube video. We'll make sure it's there as well for you. And please check Raph out. Raph's amazing. But yeah, for this show, we are going to have a show next week. That is the current plan, and we want to go into the Occult Crescent. It's not going to be on the live letter, because it's going to happen the day after the live letter. We'll get back to the live letter with a few more specific topics that it will help expand. Like hopefully stuff about Ultimate, hopefully stuff about other things that we don't know yet. We'll have shows with that in the future. But right after it, we plan to do a lore dive into some of the stuff that we learned about the fifth era with Occult Crescent. We're bringing on some amazing guests. We'll should have in M and Anonymous. Those two will definitely be on, and maybe another as well. I need to check and clarify. But it is going to be an amazing show. You guys should check it out. Same time, Saturday. But yeah, that's it. You guys might see me try to do some Savage streaming soon. Hopefully we do some more. We did some last night. We'll see how that goes. And I appreciate everybody who came to watch this live, and I appreciate everybody watching this on VOD. And maybe if you're listening to this as an audio only, hopefully we got those going now too. You guys all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And until next time, be good, keep cool, stay frosty. Bye! Say bye.
Bye. See you later.